Hi and welcome to Origami Expressions. Thanks for stopping by. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is a channel where we learn to fold things from really simple stuff right up to more advanced complex designs. We also have a chat about things which are generally origami related. In this video, we're going to learn how to fold one of these. Star Trek fans may recognize it as a Romulan Warbird. There have been various different designs of Romulan Warbird over the years. I'm not entirely sure which one this is, but I'm sure experts in these things can let you know. This design was created by Larry Hart and Ash Malik. To my eternal shame, Larry passed away a few years ago, and I did promise him that I would make a video on showing how to fold this model. Unfortunately, I never got to do it before he died. So Larry, this one's for you. This one is a slightly more advanced model, so if you haven't folded my model of the Starship Enterprise yet, or more accurately Larry and Ash's model of the Starship Enterprise yet, you might want to do that first. That's based on a simple bird base, so it should be reasonably simple to fold. You can find the instructions for that here. Before we get started, this would be a really good time to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring that little bell so you don't miss any future videos. But if you're ready, grab yourself a sheet of paper and let's get going. Okay, so to fold this Romulan Warbird model, you're going to need a strip of paper that's 1/4 of the size of a square. You're going to need something that's quite thin but at the same time quite strong. I would recommend using metallic tissue foil, which you can get from the origami shop. I'll put a link to that in the description below. You're also going to need something that's a reasonable size. This one is folded from a strip of paper that is cut from a 60 centimeter square. So here is a similar strip. So as you can see, because it's cut from a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter square, then it is 60 centimeters in one direction and 15 in the other. I'm just going to check the focus on this, if I may. There we go. This piece of paper, obviously it doesn't fit on the screen completely, but I'm going to run with it anyway because I think it's a good enough size. To fold the model without being too small, and I think the creases will show up well on this piece of paper. Unfortunately, as you can see, this paper came folded in quarters, so I've got this crease here, which is not needed on the model, so you'll have to disregard that crease. Now I'm going to put the creases on this side of the paper because I think they will show up better, and I'm going to cross this crease out to make sure that we know that that's not in use, and to make sure that I don't fold to the wrong line, but you get the general idea. Now you can see that you can ignore that one. The perfect proportions of this paper, the design that Larry Hart discovered are exactly the same as a Kit Kat wrapper. So if you fancy your candy and you want to make a really small one, then get yourself a Kit Kat, but I would say it's probably a little small for the first time folding this model. So we'll go with something nice and big. This colour should show the creases up reasonably well. So let's get on with it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a diagonal crease in from this corner. So we are going to fold this edge here up to lie along this edge here. So it's going to put a crease in that goes down there. We're going to fold this edge here to lie along the top. So try and be as accurate as you can with your folding. The more accurate you are at this stage, the more precise your model would be, and the more satisfied you will be with the overall outcome. Right, so the reason for putting that crease in first is to find this point. So the next thing that we are going to do is unfold that, and from this point we're going to fold this edge over here. So we're going to put the crease in up here. So we can this edge all the way over there. So the actually simplest way of doing that is to put that crease back in and fold along this line. So that's what we'll do. Again, try and keep your creases as accurate as you can make them. Right, so there we have it. So we have this diagonal crease here, and we put that crease in there. We actually need that to be valley fold, so let's just reverse the direction of that crease. Like that. Okay, so we now need to divide the rest of the paper in half. So we're going to take this edge here, that's this edge here, and fold it over to meet this crease line that we have just made. So that's this edge here, goes all the way over to meet this crease line here. So just bring that up to make sure it's well positioned and put that crease line in. So we're going to leave this section alone for the moment, and we're going to focus on this section here. So we're going to divide this section in half, and then one of those halves will divide into quarters. So yes, it's this edge here, fold to the fold line that you have just made. So that's this edge here to the first crease line. Again, you want to get that right up to that crease line. As accurately as you can. Just like that. So you can see we have folded this line here up to meet this crease line here. Now, this section we're going to divide into quarters, and this section we're going to divide in half. So let's deal with the quarters first. So this edge, again, to the first crease line, that's this edge here, fold it over to meet this crease line here. Like that. And then this edge here, fold over again to this crease line here. So that's this now folded edge, fold over to meet this raw edge, which is lying along the crease line underneath. Try to make sure that this doesn't move, so that needs to stay in place. Hold that down, and then fold this over to meet that. All we're doing is dividing this section into quarters. So you could fold each quarter individually if you wish, but this is good enough for what we need. Okay, those are pre-creases we will need later in the model. So then we can just unfold all of those back and together. So now you can see we have 4 strips, and then we have this section here, and then we have this larger section here and this square. So this section here, which is, yes, it's this section here, ignore that crease line there, that's not there. So it's this section here, which is the same size as this one. We're going to take this crease line here, and fold it to lie along this crease line here. So that's this crease line, the 1, 2, 3, 4th crease, over to meet this one here. And again, be as accurate as you can. You might want to make sure that you check both the top and bottom of this crease to make sure it's good and accurate. That's there, and there. Like that. Okay, so just to check, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have a section which is twice the width of those sections, another one that's twice the width, and you have another one which is the same size as all of that, and this square. That is all of the vertical pre-creasing we need to do at this stage. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to fold the whole model in quarters lengthways. So we're going to take this edge here and fold it over to meet this edge here. So all the way along, it's this edge here, fold over to meet the top. Now, again, go slowly if you need to. Pay attention to the accuracy of the folds as you go along. Try and make sure that each of these line up with their counterpart underneath. Like you can see, they all line up. And that's as accurate as you can try and get it. So take your time, work your way along, and fold the model in half all the way along. Right. That. I've got a little knot in my paper there, but we can work with that. Okay, so now we need to take this top raw edge, just this top raw edge here, and fold it back to lie along this edge here. So that's this edge, fold it over to lie along this edge here. Obviously you could do both of these raw edges at the same time, but I think when you're folding a crease as long as this one, it's probably a good idea. Just take a couple of seconds that it's going to need to fold each lay individually, because you're going to get a much better result if you do. So we're folding that into quarters all the way along. Okay, then let's turn the paper over, and again we're going to fold this edge to lie along this edge, so that we're dividing the paper all the way along into quarters. Okay, that's halfway done. Take your time, try and get it nice and accurate, as I say, because you're going to need to use these creases as references in a minute. Right, the next few folds, let's unfold that again. And let's check the orientation of the paper. So you should have your diagonal fold here, and you should at the other end have your vertical folds here. Right, the next stage that we're kind of working up to, if you're familiar with box pleating, should be pretty familiar to you. So if you folded any Neil Elias models, for instance, or spent much time on my channel or my website, then none of this will come as a great surprise. So we obviously have this middle section here. We don't want to put any more creases in that, so we're solely going to work. Let's just make sure I've got that switched out. Yes, that's that right here. We're solely going to work on this section here. So all the creases I'm going to suggest for the next few steps, we're just doing on this bit. We'll work on the other end in a minute, but we're just going to work on this bit for now. So this section here, we are going to fold in half. So it's this section here, but only as far as that line. This section here, fold up to that line. Now I've actually gone slightly further on that one than we need to be, so let's put the diagonals in first, because actually that's going to make life simpler. So let's take this edge here and fold it to lie along this edge here. So just for clarity, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th crease in from the left hand side. We're going to take the bottom edge to lie along that 6th crease. And we're only going to crease down part of the way. So let's go down as far as the center line. So just that much. Like that. So we're taking this edge to lie along that line, folding it over so the crease goes from that point to the center line. Now we're going to put a matching crease in that goes from this point to that point. So it's from there, folded over to there. So that's this edge will lie along this line. Now you've got some references here. You should find that these lines all line up. So you should be able to make sure that your crease is starting in the right place and that this edge here lines up. And if you've got all your creases nice and accurately, when you get down to the center line, you should find that you've got 3 creases all meeting in the same place. So that's what you're looking for. Right, so we have this crease going up as far as the diagonal, which is where we want it to go. So let's put its matching pair in by folding this top edge down to lie along this line as far as that diagonal line there. So that's this top edge needs to fold over to lie along this line from this edge of the paper to that diagonal line there. So I'll put that in and I can show you what I mean. So okay, you can see the diagonal line. So I'm just going to put that crease in just as far as that. Okay, bear with me. Right, we're going to put the next crease actually is already there, and that's going to be a mounting fold in a minute. So let's just kind of reinforce that as a mounting fold. So let's just reinforce that one. And the same with this crease here. Let's just kind of reinforce that as a mounting fold. So that's really good. Those ones are already there. Right, next one is to fold this crease here. So that's the second one up, 1, 2 from the bottom, to lie along the center line. And again, we're going to have a crease that starts from this side and only goes as far as this point on this diagonal line. So that's this crease line here, fold over to meet this center line. You've obviously got a lot of paper to play with, so just kind of bend it over, but don't fold it all the way along. You're just looking to fold this section here. So fold that. Okay, and it will be to that point there. You can see there's this vertical line. That will be where it lines up underneath. So just kind of reinforce that. And fold that again. And you can see you've created this line here. Okay, so you can see now we have a crease here that goes to the diagonal. We have a crease here that actually goes beyond the diagonal, but we're interested in as far as here. We have a crease here that goes to the diagonal. Now we need to put the last corresponding crease in here. So from the top, first crease, second crease, so that's this one is the one that we're working with, and we're going to fold that to lie along the center line. That's this second crease to lie along the center line. We're going to create a crease that starts over here and goes as far as this point here. So again, just fold all the paper, just gently bend all the paper over if you need to, and then fold that crease down to lie along the center line, nice and accurately all the way along. And we're going to go there. Take that as far as that point, as far as this point here. You'll see that will create the right crease as you unfold it again. There we go. Just move my mouse pointer out of the way. Okay, so you can see that if you begin to have this kind of, it's almost like a flag shape. There's certain flags in the world that are like this shape. And you can see that this crease here and this crease here are joined by this one here. And you can see that this edge and this edge, where they meet the diagonal, are joined by this crease here. But you can also see that this point and this point are not joined up, and at this point are not joined up. So we're going to put similar creases into this one that go between this point here and this point here, and then from this point here to this point here. So let's start with this line. So it's a crease that goes from this point to this point. So make sure you find your points and then fold those over accurately as you can. So check on the other side of the paper. Again, you've got plenty of references. You'll find that this crease here will line up all the way through, and that this crease here will line up all the way through. So if you get that nice and accurately, find that point, and you can see here's the triangle that you're putting the edge on. So you've got that first point there. You can just squash that down. Be careful to make sure it goes through this point. These references will help you. So just put that crease in there, like that. So if we unfold that again, okay, you can see that you have put this crease in between those 2 points. Now we're going to do the same thing again, joining this point here up with this point here. So it's a crease that's going to go from there to there. And we're going to fold this section over in this direction in order to make that happen. So let's find this point here. And we're going to just kind of make sure we've got that point nice and clearly highlighted with our finger. Fold it over. Just ease the paper like that to make sure it happens. Make sure you're going through that point. Make sure you've got that point nice and accurate. Again, hold the paper straight and use these points here to line up if you need to. And you should be able to see the triangle. And make sure that you've got this point in the right place as well. And place the crease nice and accurately between those 2 points. There you go. And we'll unfold that. Now you can see that we have a kind of a structure that kind of goes out from the middle. We have these kind of 2 strips. You can see a kind of a shape here that's like a rectangle, and then another rectangle that goes around it, another rectangle that goes around it. And we're going to use those lines to create something that will be, as I say, very familiar to anybody that's done much in the way of box pleating. I've folded many Neolitis models, for instance. This will come as no great surprise. So it's kind of a bit of like an Elias stretch sort of affair. So we're going to make sure that we take this first section here is a valley fold, and we're going to make that valley fold all the way around. And this will be a valley fold as well, and this will be valley fold as well. So it's easy first to actually just make the creases, and you'll see what happens. So let's just make sure that these are all reinforced. So that first one is a valley fold. Let's take that one. Make sure that this one here is a valley fold. Got that diamond, that little section there, going to make us a valley fold. And this other little one up here, make that as a valley fold as well. So there we go, like that. Now, so put those 3 creases in. Now you can see that what we're going to want to try and do is we're going to turn these to here into valley folds on this side, so the mountain folds to the side now. And this will be the valley fold on this side all the way around. So you can do by just kind of pinching these 2 bits together. Just pinch this edge and this edge together along that line. Like that. So I'll just kind of open up and show you so my fingers aren't in the way. That's this edge and this edge. They just kind of pinch together. And do the same thing here. So we'll pinch this edge and this edge together. Just kind of squash the paper down a little bit to kind of ease that along the crease line we've already got. So take those 2 edges, this edge and this edge. The crease is already there, remember, you just put it in. You're not putting any new creases in this stage. Okay, We're just kind of pinching those two things together. Then you can start to see the structure coming here. So let's just allow that to happen. Strengthen that crease. Same here, we'll just kind of allow that to happen and strengthen that crease. Right, you can start to see the way this is going to go now. So the next one, we have a value fold along here. And these value folds are already in place. We just need to strengthen this value fold here. And then this diagonal will be a mounting fold. This will be a mounting fold. These are mounting folds all the way around there. So if I just kind of strengthen that value fold a little bit along the crease line you've already got, remember? Like that. And you can push underneath and you can see the paper starts to come together along the creases that you've already made. And then reinforce that one as a mounting. And do the same here. So again, there's no new creases going on. This one here, this little diagonal, we're going to push from underneath, like that, so make it a mountain. And we'll bring the paper together. Oh, you see, it just pops, just like that. Lovely. Allow the creases to all line up. Now, you should be able to just bring the paper together and just push these together underneath. Just push them together all the way underneath, all the way along. And these creases here and here will start to form. So we'll just let that happen. So we can lay that paper down. Make sure these, just allow all that paper to come underneath and bring that down along those lines. So just make sure that you've got your paper accurately folded as you can, so that this center line here will lie along the center line of the actual model. Those two creases underneath will naturally form. So you just squash those down. Just squash those down. And you've got all the paper under here is tucked in nicely. All the paper under here is tucked in nicely. And this center line crease is running along here. So make those creases nice and well reinforced. Okay, I'm just going to unpick this so you can actually see what the construction looks like now. People who've not done this sort of thing before. But then once you have, then it should be fairly obvious. You'll see that actually now we've got these additional ones in here from those last two creases that we put in. So you can ignore these, all this stuff that's going on here. It's these ones is what you're interested in. It's this kind of construction around here where you've got the value folds and the mounting folds and the value folds. So that those shapes that I was telling you about earlier on, you can see that they're now kind of becoming valleys and mountains. They're kind of concentric, if you like, and they kind of pull together nicely. So we just bring those value folds together by the diagonal. Bring the value folds together by the diagonal. Allow the mounting ones to go together, and the paper will start to squash. You can see that diagonal is going to start going in there. And again, those value mountains to happen. Paper will start to squash. That's great. Squash it in like that. That's wonderful. Again, the same thing there. All squashed together. Squashed together. And the whole thing will want to come together. You can start to see the way it's going to go. So allow all of those edges to come together like that. That's great. And the paper will want to collapse. Now, when you do it underneath like this, or turn it over and do it on the other side, whichever you see fit, I think it's easy to turn it over. It will all want to collapse. It will want to go. And the creases are already there to let it. So I think at this point, it's easier to turn the paper back over, because then you can make sure that you line up this middle crease, this one here. Okay. Now, that is one half of a lot of the pre-creasing done. So what we've just done on this section here, we're going to do exactly the same on this section here. So you can see we already have one diagonal going from this point here all the way up. We only actually need it as far as this center point. So this point here, this crease here, is already there. What we need to do is to put its counterpart in that goes from this point here to the center point. So from here through to there, which we will do by taking this top edge and folding it to lie along this crease here. So that's this top edge, fold over to lie along this crease here. Only going to crease from the corner to the center point. Okay, again, try and get that as accurate as you can in the corner there. Put that crease in as far as this center point. You can see this diagonal line there already. So you can see this crease line here, the diagonal line meeting. So you should be able to see they all meet in exactly the same place. Make good, firm crease. There you go. Right, so the next few steps should feel really familiar based on what we did a moment ago. So we're going to take this raw edge here. Again, in this section only. This bit, ignore it. This section only, we're going to fold this raw edge to lie along this crease line here. We're only going to go as far, though, remember, as this diagonal point here, this diagonal line. So it's a nice crease from this point, from this edge through to that diagonal line. Like that. Okay, so we unfold that, and you can see we have this crease that goes from there all the way along as far as this diagonal line. The next crease is already in place, so that's good. Now so we're going to fold this crease line here to the center line, but we're only going to fold from as far as this diagonal line. So the crease will start at this edge and it will go along to this diagonal line here. That's this crease line here over to the center line. Only crease from the edge as far as the diagonal. So that's crease as far as the diagonal, which is about here. It's about there. So, oh, in fact, I've gone much too fast. When you need to go as far as there, so never mind. Won't make any difference. So we need to do the same thing from the top. So it's this raw edge, fold it over to lie along this crease line here, but only from the raw edge to this diagonal line. So take the raw edge, fold it over, crease that only as far as this diagonal line here. Good firm crease and unfold. And you can see we have created this crease line here up to that point there. So again, we're going to need to take the next crease, which is already there for the construction that we're making. We're going to need to take this crease here and bring it to the center line. That's this crease, fold it over to the center line, but only from the edge as far as this diagonal line. So we take this crease line, bring it to the center line, and put our crease in as far as the diagonal, which is underneath. Unfold, and again you can see I've gone much too far, but it's not a problem, it doesn't matter. So we're now going to need to create the same kind of construction as we did on this side over here. So you can see that we have our parallel lines. We have one set of parallel lines here and here, which is either side of the center line. And here's our triangle. So there's point 1 and point 2. Then we've got this crease line here, goes up as far as the diagonal. This crease line here, which goes up as far as the diagonal. So we're going to need a crease that goes and connects those 2 points. And we have this crease line here, which goes as far as the diagonal. And this crease line here, which goes as far as the diagonal. And we're going to need to join up those 2 points as well. So let's start with the narrowest ones, because they're the easiest ones. So make sure you've got that point nice and well marked. Use these creases to line up if you need to. So you've got that line up bit there that lines up, that bit right there that lines up. The edges should all line up. If you make sure the paper is good and pulled tight. then you can see your triangle. So make sure that you just put just that crease in there. Just that little triangle that you've got here. So just crease the edges of that. Unfold it again, and there's our first one of that construction. So the next one is here. It's this crease line as far as that diagonal point, and this crease line as far as that diagonal point. We need to put a crease in that connects these two here. So let's make sure we've got that point there identified. Fold the paper over, marking that point. Again, use this should line up, this should line up, this should line up, this should line up, and interestingly, you should now find that the two raw edges of the paper all line up. So when you've got that, you're happy it's all nicely lined up, you're creating this next biggest triangle, if you like. So there it goes, between those two creases. And then we fold that back. Here's our first rectangle, here's our second rectangle. So now we just need to join up the ends of our third rectangle. So it's this point here and this point here. So let's just make sure we've got that crease, that point marked. Fold it over. Use your edges again to line up. Make sure the paper is pulled tight. And then find that point, join the two up with a crease. Okay, unfold that again. Now, this construction here is exactly the same as this one we did here. We will end up with a small bit in here which will join up, which will line up with this one. So it'll all come together and fold over and line up. So let's start with these valley folds that we've got all the way around. Remember, in this section, we're not adding any new creases in at all. We're just using the ones we've already made. So let's just kind of reinforce that. You can see the paper wants to go together using the little diagonal crease we have there. We've got this valley fold. Yeah, let's just let that happen so that can come together like that. That's fine. Let's do the same at the top here. So it's this first crease, that first little diagonal as far as the first square. Just kind of let that happen. Just bring it together. Yeah, that's fine, not a problem. Just let that happen. Reinforce this crease if you want to, just because it makes life simpler. Okay? So you can see the way this is going to work here. Now you also see, look how inaccurate that. This is why it's important you fold accurately, because you can see I've got a gap there, and that's going to make my life a little interesting in a minute, but we'll see how we get on. So this is going to be a mountain fold. This is going to be a mountain fold. This is going to be a mountain fold. So is that one in there and that one in there. So this is mountain folds all the way around this time. So again, just go underneath it, pop it up, and just let all that come together. So just reinforce those creases. Let that mountain fold happen. Let the mountain fold of that triangle, squeeze it together like that. And again, the top here. So I'm just going to reach underneath, and I'm just going to push that triangle together. Push those triangles together. Lovely. This mountain fold will happen. That's good. And we'll just kind of allow that one to form itself as well. Now I'm going to need to get an adjustment here because my fold wasn't accurate enough. So bear with me while I just reposition my crease a bit. That's fine. So you can adjust it if you don't get it quite right the first time. It's not a problem. Okay, so now it's a set of valley folds all around. So this is a valley fold, 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 and so is this. So use the crease and squeeze the paper together. And same over here, use the paper, use the crease, squeeze the paper together. It will want to come together. That's great, like just like that. Wonderful. Reinforce your creases a bit if you need to. That's great. And then you can bring those last two layers together, in they come, and the whole thing will squash down flat like that. Then you can bring that bit round. We'll all line up nice and neatly, as I say. That's great. And just reinforce all your creases. Make sure it all gets nice and good and flat. So just take a moment right now and reinforce all your creases. Okay, that's good. The next thing we need to do is we need to get these sections here to stick out to the sides. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to create a little bit of a water bomb base here and here. So we'll do this end first. So you can just about see that you've got this little first half of water bomb base here already. So let's just reinforce this crease and extend it out a bit by taking this edge here, that's this bottom edge of this section, to lie along this edge here, and this bit will go up there. So let's take this whole section along that diagonal there and lay it along this edge, just like that. A good firm crease. So I'll do that again so you can see. It's this edge here to lie along this edge here, using half the crease you've already got and extending it. It should all lie nice and flat. Your thumbnails in there if you need to, or use a bone folder, but you need a nice good firm crease there. Lay that back down. Do the same again. So you've got half a crease here. And we're going to take this edge here, and it's going to lie along this edge and stick out in this direction. So let's just take all of that and fold that over just like that to lie along that edge, just like that. Make sure you've got a good firm set of creases like that. There we go. So we want to put all of those creases in at the same time. So let's just let's go, bring those together. Bring those together. Thank you very much. And then over the top, and it will create a little, almost an arrowhead point there. So just turn it back over. So you're basically putting all these creases in at the same time. It will automatically create this one and this one. So you bring all of those in, it comes over the top, and you create this kind of arrow structure. You should find that this point lines up with the edge, and this point lines up with the edge, like that. If you do that, then that's your way of knowing that this line is now lining up with this line. So try and get this point here as accurate as you can. So you've got a nice right angle and this point lined up, and a nice right angle here and this point lined up. At that point you can make some good firm creases like that. Okay, let's do the same thing at the other end. So you can see we have this kind of beginnings of some creases underneath that have kind of made themselves visible. It's basically the creases underneath that you can see. We're going to extend those out along here so that this edge here lies along this edge here. So this edge here will fold over to lie along this edge here, creating a fold here. So take this, fold it over like that. You'll see that the edge here should line up. The edge of the flap should line up with the edge of the edge of the top of the paper. So, and a good firm crease. Fold that back down. And the same in the other direction. So this folded edge here, fold it over to lie along this folded edge here. It will create a crease line down here, like extends this underlying crease all the way down. So take this edge, fold it over to lie along this edge. Again, you'll see it will line up with the top. Should line up nicely along this edge, and when you've got that, you can put that crease in as well. Just like that. Fold it back. And then like we did over here, we're going to put both of these, all 4 if you like, of these little creases in here at the same time, and create another one that goes across there. So bring the paper together, just bring the paper together like that. You can see, just bring the paper together. Push the whole section over and allow, as you start to push it down, you'll see that arrow will start to form. So like that. And then squash it. Make sure that this point is on the edge. This point is on the edge, and you should have some nice right angles here. That's how you know that then your crease, your section here is sticking out at the right angle. Okay, like that. So, you might remember right at the beginning, I said you were going to need some thin paper. This is why. Because we're going to need to make this bit, this section here, quite a bit thinner if it's going to become this section here. So this lot all needs to become quite a bit thinner, and you can see it gets, there's quite a few layers of paper there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these layers here. You can see there's a couple of layers here, and we're going to fold them to lie along the center line. So that's this section here, fold it over to lie along the center line. I will put it so it's just short of the center line if I were you, because you're going to need a little bit of wiggle room in a minute. So like that. Again, make sure it's a good firm crease, really good crease. Get a bone folder in there if you need to, or a little bit of plastic, or just your thumbnail, whatever works for you. Again, now we're going to take the top edge here. I'm going to take the top edge and fold it to the middle line. Again, allow a little bit of a gap if you want to. Like that. Good firm creases. Yeah, like that. Fantastic. Now what we're going to need to do, it's going to get fiddly, is we're going to need to do that again. So this edge here into the center line, and then this edge here into the center line. This is why I said allow that little gap in the middle, because this is where it gets a little fiddly. You've got quite a few layers there, so you're going to need to get that in towards the center line. But again, leave a little bit of a gap, because in a minute you're going to fold that whole section, this whole section in half. So fold it close to the center line, but don't overdo it. Like that. And like that. Paper's getting a little thick here. Okay, so then you should be able to take the whole thing and fold it in half. So let's just kind of fold the whole things together. Like that. Squeeze the whole thing together, get your thumbnails in there. So you should be able to get that really squashed together, nice and tight. That is pretty much one end done. Now let's work on the other end. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 creases here. What we're going to need to do is on the top layer only, just this top layer, we're going to put a crease in that goes from this corner to the second fold line. 1, 2. So a crease that goes from this corner to this second fold line, just the top layer. So this layer is going to go out and come out at an angle. So from that corner to the second fold line, like that. I've actually gone beyond the second fold line, that's not very good. It's not the end of the world if you do, but I want to keep it, make it too big. I'll run with it. So, okay, and again on the bottom layer, so it's just the top layer here, just the top layer only, and it's from that point here to that point there. So the crease line here to match the one above. Like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to ease this whole section out to the side. So this bit is going to rotate out, and we're going to put another crease line in along here, underneath there. So if we take this section, it goes out, and we're going to put another crease line in, so between this point and this point underneath there. So what we basically do is we take that, I'm going to put my finger in here so this bit doesn't move, and we're going to rotate that out like that. So it goes out, and then put that crease in there. Okay, so it's a matching crease, the one you've just done underneath. I should just move that back again so you can see. In fact, what I might try and do is, let's see if we can zoom in here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's, put my finger there, take hold of this section, and just rotate it out. And then put another crease in there. So it goes from that point all the way down to here. Okay, and you'll see you have this bit sticking up. So what we're going to do is, as you bring your fingers together, make sure that this edge here and this edge here should line up. Okay, so bring your fingers together like that, so that those two edges will line up like that. And then you can fold that down like that. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. So I should put my finger in the way. I should take the top edge, and I should just ease it out, and put a crease in there. Joins those 2 points up. Okay, so put that crease in. Paper will not lie flat. Put a crease in there. Okay, and then we're going to bring these two edges together. So I'm going to turn that around. And as you bring it together, make sure that the edges line up. So just bring those together and squash it down. So that should, if your folding is slightly more accurate than mine, should mirror what's on both sides. So it's good enough. We'll run with that. Okay, let's Let's zoom that back out again. There we go. Make some good firm creases there. Okay, that's good. Next thing we're going to do is I think we need a couple of extra creases in that's going to make our life easier in a minute. Let's actually put, yeah, let's put these creases in now because I think it's easier. So we're going to have a crease. In fact, I'm just going back in because this is my life easier. We're going to have a crease that goes from this tip here. So this is the first one. This is the first junction point to the first junction point down here. Yep, this first junction point to this first junction point down there. So let's unfold all of those over. So we get from that first junction point to that first junction point there. So you can see it's that point to that point. You'll see that the raw edge should line up with the folded edge underneath. So the raw edge again here will line up with the folded edge underneath. And you can flatten that down. Like that. Unfold it. Now we need to go from this one second. That's why. So this widest point here, down to this widest point here. Yep. This widest point here, crease line all the way down there. So lift that up. And find that point. And that point. You should be able to line this edge up with this edge. So if you've got that point there and that point there correct, these edges will line up. So you're going to want to try and keep this reasonably accurate if you can, because these are going to determine what the sides of the front part of the spaceship look like. So let's get that. That's not bad. Gone off the screen then. Apologies. Let's zoom that back out because it's easier to show you. Okay. So, yeah, you have got a crease going from the widest point and the crease going from the first junction at both points. Now you're going to want to line this crease up with this crease. So effectively you're going to kind of half this bit along here. So it's this crease, fold over to this crease. So like that. Okay, so you should have 3 parallel creases, and if you think of this as being a segment, then they start at the top of this segment is the first one, the second one is the end of the segment, and the third one runs down through the middle. Okay, That's good. So that's a lot of the creases that we need for the head done. Not all of them, because that's a lot of the pre-creasing done. We'll actually just form the thing up in a minute. Now we need to work on this middle section. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this whole section over to this section. So this edge here will line up with this edge here. Okay, see this section should lie along the middle line. All of the raw edges should line up, and all of these folded edges should line up as well. Like that. The next crease goes from this corner here, so this junction here, it goes from there to the middle line. So it's a crease that goes from there to the middle point. And this section here will fold over in this direction. So it's a crease that joins that point and that point. So find the center line and pinch it. Find this point here. Mark it, and you go ahead and create the crease between the two. Okay, that's good. Unfold. Now fold this raw edge to lie along this crease here. That's this raw edge. Fold over to lie along this crease here, which will create a crease that goes, that bisects this point and goes along this sort of angle. Accurate, but I'll run with that. I'll make it work. Good firm creases. Right now we need to bisect both of these sections as well. So we're going to put a crease in that runs from here to up here. Take the raw edge and fold it to lie along this line. Like that. Unfold it, and then take this second crease up, the second angled crease up, and make it lie along this crease here. So this crease line will fold over to lie along this line here. And you should be able to see that that point there will line up, and the other reference point is obviously that corner down there. Good firm creases, and unfold, and you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 creases all radiating out from this corner down here. Now we need to do the same thing in this section. So they're going to start at this point and go to the center line. So this raw edge here will fold over to go up here, like that sort of an angle. The crease will go from there to the center line. So let's find the center line. Let's find the corner. Goes there. unfold that. Then this raw edge needs to fold over to lie along the crease that you've just made. There we go. Good firm creases. Unfold that. And again, we need to bisect these sections as well. So this raw edge folded over to lie along this crease. Go, unfold it, and then this second crease up, 1, 2, needs to fold over to lie along this crease line here that connects the center line. So again, as you do, you will see that this crease and this crease here will line up, and it will go to the corner. Like that. Okay, so you've got some parallel creases, and then when we unfold this again, you can see we have some kind of concentric constructions again on both sides. Now, we're going to need to make sure that we change the orientation of a few of these creases. So this first one, needs to be a mountain fold. Then this one is a valley fold. This one is a mountain fold. And this one is a valley fold. So the easiest thing to do is to put those creases in first and make sure we have the correct orientation on both sides. Then, as we put the creases in, the model will fold back in half again with all of these sections hidden inside. So let's make sure that we get the orientation of the creases the right way around first. So let's start with this first really thin triangle, if you like, and make that a mountain crease along both sides. So that's a mountain crease already, but this half is not. So we'll just change the direction of that and make that a mountain fold all the way along. That's great. Good firm crease. Like that. You can start to feel the paper's already wanting to fold, but don't worry about that. We can make it fold in the right direction in a minute. Right now, all we're doing is just trying to get the orientation of the creases right. So the next one needs to be valley fold. So on this side, it already is. So just allow the paper to do what it really wants to an extent, and just reinforce that as a valley fold. And on this side, you're going to need to change the direction of that crease. So it should go reasonably easily, depending on what paper you've used, because the paper's obviously been slightly weakened already. But just a question of just change the direction of that crease into the valley fold. Okay, so you can start to see already the paper wants to close up, but that's fine, it's not a problem. We'll work with that. The next one needs to be mountain fold. It already is on this side, but this side needs to have a direction change. So let's work on the basis of pop the paper. There we go. And then that's a mountain fold and a mountain fold. Okay, and then once you pop the paper back again, because this one needs to be valley fold. It's already a valley fold on this side. This side needs direction changing. So let's just encourage the paper to that one's a mounting fold. Come on, encourage it. And just encourage that to become a valley fold all the way along. So again, you don't need to be forcing the paper at this stage. All we're just trying to do is to just get it to remember what the fold is. We'll actually collapse it in a minute, but at the moment all we want to get it to do is just to remember that that's a valley fold. So all the way along the length and down to the side, just make sure that it knows that's a valley fold ready for in a minute. So just work with it, ease it into place, and make sure that it knows come collapse time what it's supposed to be doing. So, right, that's one half ready. It's easier to then turn the paper around and work on the other half. So remember, this one is supposed to, this nice shallow triangle to start with, is supposed to be a mounting fold. So let's just work with the half that's already a mounting fold and reinforce that. There we go. Pop the paper if you need to. And then just encourage it to remember that that is going to be a mounting fold. Okay, so we're changing direction of the paper on one side, like that. The next one is a valley fold. So again, pop the paper if you need to. Encourage this side of the paper already is a valley fold. This side will need to be encouraged. So just work with the bit that's already right, and then reinforce that so it's nice and happy. This side, just change the direction of that crease. You're not putting any new creases in, you just change the direction of the one you've already got. So just gently work your way along and turn that into a valley fold. That's great. Now this is where it gets interesting, because now you have to work with these last two at the same time as the paper's kind of got quite narrow now because we've got these ones in on this side. That's not a problem. So pop the paper if you need to. Pop. This side already recognises the mounting fold. This one does not, so you've got to change the direction. Again, we'll work with what we've got first. And just get the paper to recognise that mounting fold. So squeeze it in like that. And then the last one we've got to do is this last valley fold. So this side already knows it's a valley fold, this side needs to have the direction change. So pop the paper again if you need to. Put the valley fold in the nose, it's a valley fold first. And just make sure all your edges line up if you need to. Like that. And this side, just work with it. Work with the crease you've got, don't start putting new ones in, just reinforce that as a valley fold. Okay, so now you should just be able to just reconfirm these creases on this side. So this one, remember, was a mounting fold, and this one, last one, is a valley fold. So let's just put those creases back in at the same time if you need to. As you do, you can start to see the model is wanting to fold in half. And the whole thing will fold back together again in half with a diamond at the end instead of a rectangle. Right, just allow that all to go together, squish it down. Reinforce all your creases so that it all lies flat. Try and make sure you get all your edges lined up. It's gone slightly out of focus, so let's just focus that. There we go. Okay, so squash it good and flat, make sure you've got all your creases in there. Right, you can start to see the basic construction happening now, because as you can see, if I then grab hold of the finished one and hold it like that, why is this losing its focus? Right, lock the focus in. You can start to see that here's this bit, and here's this bit, and the basic construction of the back. But we've got this kind of like point here that we don't really want. So we're going to have to lose this point on the inside. So let's work on that bit next. So if you just hold the layers apart for a moment, you can see the kind of the amount of triangle we've got to work with. So we want to work with from this bit, from where that last junction is. You can see the same thing on the other side. You've got that point there. So let's just work with, what's going on here? There we go. Right, let's just work with this last section of triangle, that bit there, and just fold that over. Fold it over. It should line up with the centre line, and put a good crease in. Right, if you're not very happy with sinks, or you would rather just glue this, you can just glue that down at that point, or sellotape it, or even just leave it as a point. This is a purely decorative thing here, so I think it does look so much better. So we're going to just sink that inside, but it's not that difficult a sink in this case. All we've done, we just open that triangle back up. Now if we turn and just look at the tail kind of end on, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take hold of just this top layer here, like that, and just this bottom layer here, and I'm going to open it out just a little. So we've got to open up some of the layers as well. I want to get that section opened up so I can see the whole of all the folds that make up that little triangle. Right, come on. Maybe I'll get my fingers inside and just kind of push it open. There we go. You can see that that's made of a hexagon. I don't really want that hexagon there. All I want to do is just want to push it on the inside. That's all I want to do. Just kind of push it down on the inside. And then we will allow that to just squish itself back down inside. So I want to turn that hexagon really into a rectangle, so we can cut off the sides of that, like that, and like that, and then just squish it, flatten it, so that as the thing goes back together again, line the edges up better if you need to. As the thing goes back together again, we can just squash that. Doesn't really matter which side of all the layers that all goes. All we want is that to just squash back inside. It's a bit fiddly and it will resist your squashing to an extent, but it will go if you just persevere with it a little. So just manipulate the layers inside as you need to. So you want a nice flat end. So a bit of continuous encouragement, and it will, from hook or by crook, if you just ease it down, it will go flat. Like that. So if you're not happy with it, then just keep fiddling with it until you get the point how you want it. Mine's kind of gone slightly at an angle, but to be honest, I'm happy with that. I'm comfortable with that, and so just squash it. Right, that's all the really difficult steps in this model done. So that's where you breathe a huge sigh of relief, isn't it? So next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create the ends of the sides, which is how it all kind of locks together. So we're going to take this whole section here, this whole kind of top section, and we're going to fold that back on itself on the inside. You can see where you've got this crease line here. So back down again, see what we're doing. You can see we have this crease line here, so that this section is going to fold back on itself underneath along this existing crease line. So there's quite a lot of layers there, so don't panic, it will go. There you go. And you should find that this folded edge lines up all the way along there. So, okay. Then what we're going to need to do is we're going to bring that back out again. So if we open it up, we're going to put a crease line that runs along the edge of where it is now lying. So that's going to be a crease line along here. So that's obviously inside. We've opened it up. We're going to put a crease line that runs along the side. Like that. Okay, and what I've just done is I've just put those creases in the wrong way around. So let's just make sure those creases are good and firm, and then we can just reverse those creases. So at the moment we've got a mounting fold here and a valley fold here. We want that the other way around, so let's just kind of turn that into a valley fold. Okay, so that's into a valley fold, and then this crease here, that's a mounting fold. So just reverse the direction of that one. And you should find that this piece goes on the inside and all the creases line up neatly on the outside. So just adjust them slightly if you need to. You might have some weird, complicated stuff going on down over here in these corners. Don't worry about it, that's going to get hidden on the inside of the model in a minute. So don't panic about that. What you're more worried about is making sure that these edges all line up and you've got the same amount of triangle on both sides. So just adjust your creases if you need to. That one's awful, so I'm going to redo that one. Okay, it's kind of done, so I'm just going to do that. Okay. Like that. Do the same thing on the other side, so let's turn that over. I'm going to crimp this side as well, so at this widest point you can see that there is a crease already. So this folded section here is going to fold over along this crease line we've already got. So over we go, like that. And then we're going to put another crease line in that runs along, so along this edge here, so that this whole section will fold back over. So let's just turn it around slightly, and then the crease line runs along here and along here. So over we go, and put the crease in. Okay. So that should all, when you lie it flat, all line up. mine lines up-ish, but it's not that much of a problem because of the creases we're going to put in a minute. It'll still work, so don't panic. Okay, so let's work on effectively the head of the warbird, so the kind of the front bit where all the I suppose all the action happens, and where the bridges and all that kind of stuff actually in the TV series. So we're going to take hold of this, just this section here, and we have a crease that runs all the way down, and we're just going to fold that in half all the way down like that. Okay, so we can ignore all this stuff here for a moment. We're not working on that, so just going to work on this head section. So if your creases are nice and accurate, and better than mine, this should all line up and be nice and neat here, but we'll kind of ignore that. Right, you have got 3 parallel creases here. And what we're going to want to do is this one here is going to be a mounting fold on both sides, and we're going to put a valley fold in from the top of this first section to the bottom of this first section. So it's going to be a crimp, and it's going to want to be the same on both sides. So the easiest way of doing it is to put it in as valley folds and mounting folds, and then correct it on the other side. So this is going to be a mounting fold, this is going to be a valley fold. So it's put the valley fold in. So it's a valley fold from that point there to this point here. It's from the top of the innermost of the 3 parallel lines to the bottom of the middle one. So a bit fiddly, but yep. So as we can see, we've gone from the top of that first one, on that second one with a valley fold, and then this one here becomes a mountain fold. So just pop that in like that. It changes the angle of that section. Okay, so you can see we've got from there to there as a valley fold, from there to there as a mountain fold. Now, we need to make this side look the same as that, so let's undo those like that. This side is correct. This side, we need to reverse the direction of those creases. So this one then becomes the mountain fold. Like that. And this one becomes the valley fold. So, like that. Now, it should all just squish might need a bit of tidying up to make sure it does. That's a bit untidy. That's why. Just tidy it up if you need to. So I'm just going to tidy mine up. And this one's not lining up as well as I'd like. make sure you tuck that edge in there as well. Okay, so you can see what we've done there. It's a crimp on both sides. Doesn't really matter if these points don't line up precisely, because you're going to fold them inside in a minute. So what you just aim for is the same shape, kind of head, for want of a better way of putting it. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So I want to do another crimp here so that it lines up with that one. So that we're going to crimp it again over the top. The angle is up to you. I think it tends to work from the end of the third one. So you can see, start your crimp from this point and take it to the back of this section here. So start your crimp from this third line here, and then take the bottom of this to the back of that point there. So, like try and make sure it goes in the same direction though, because you want that to be. Bear with me, I'm just going to pop this crease in, and I will show you. Because you want it to feel like it's kind of curving around. Okay, something like that. So I've actually taken it from the second point, not the third point. I took it from the second point and bent it back around again. So there's what we had. And I've taken the second point and moved it back round again, another joint, if you like. So it's from this top point here down to there, and then move it back to the base of the other section. So it doesn't matter that you've got a collection of stuff here down here, because we're going to lose that in this in a minute. What matters is actually you get this kind of step effect here. So you've got 3 layers there. That's what you're looking for. So get the creases in on one side like that, and then obviously you're going to have to change the direction of those creases on the other side to make it a crimp on both sides. So that's what you're looking for. So get the creases in nice and firmly, turn it over or undo that, and then change the direction of the creases on the other side to match it. It's a bit untidy in mine, but I can live with that. Okay, and then when you've done that, you just want to take a crease from the very tip to where all this mess happens down here, just to kind of lose this kink on both sides. So this section here is all going to fold inside, just from this point here down to that point there. A nice straight edge. What that does is it locks some of those layers in place, as will the next crease as well. So you need to do that on both sides. Okay, like that. Now all of this mess we've got going on down here, which has kind of like made this a bit of a state, we just kind of tuck that inside. It's really to taste. I just want a kind of a nice little line under there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this mess and I'm going to shove it up on the inside, like that. So all that locks all of that stuff that you've just done a minute ago in place. Try and make sure that they match on both sides. Like that. There we go. Now we just need to change the direction of the head. So you can see that there is a section here. You've got a small section there, you've got another section here, another section here, and then a section there. So it's kind of, it's this section here, the kind of the first of those larger two sections. Remember from all those creases we put way back when? So we're going to put a crease in that goes from that top point there to that point there. That's going to be a valley fold, and then so it's on the top layer only. So it's just kind of like open this up and put that crease in from that point to that point there. So it's like that. So you can see it goes from the top of that crease there to the bottom of that point down there. There it is. And we'll turn over and do the same thing on the other side. We'll put the mountain fold in. We're doing another crimp basically. So we're going to take another, this is again going to go from the same point here. So you can see it's that joint there to that joint there. We're going to put the valley fold in. It should match with the other side. Adjust it slightly if it doesn't. So there you go. And then when you've got those two valley folds in, you can adjust the head angle to whatever you like. I think it's kind of, it's about right when this edge here lines up with this edge here. So just kind of squeeze it together and just bring those together like that. So that's about right. So you've got this edge here lining up with the underlying edge there, and you just squash all of that flat. Okay, make those good creases. Like that. Reinforce all the creases on the bridge section, I suppose it is, isn't it? Can't also get the terminology right. It's not a head, but it's a warbird. It looks like one. Right. So we now need to make this section thinner because it's kind of a bit big and bulky. So all we need to do is this edge here needs to tuck inside as far as this edge here. So it's just the top layer only, and then just open it up. You can see open it up, and then this edge here tuck inside. So it's easy to just open it up, bend it all the way along. There's lots of layers going on either end, so you might just have to encourage it slightly. And then it doesn't actually matter if it doesn't go all the way to the edge, but all the way to the middle. But you're looking for it to go all the way along the middle if you can. So you should get that. You just squash it nice and flat. That has the advantage of locking some of this stuff that's going on over there as well, so that's good. So you should see that it's starting to, it's at that point or thereabouts. I don't actually think it matters if it's not that precise. I mean, ultimately, it makes it look, I don't know, it gives it a certain, it's been constructed after all. It's you're going to get the odd difference between panels, I suppose, on the thing. So anyway, that looks good enough. So now we turn it over and do the same again. So it's this edge, stuff out of the way. This edge here needs to go in there. So you can see it's this edge here to tuck down inside there. Like that. And then put it all back together again, squash it down. Right, we are almost there. So you could just start to wrap all the various things together and join the ends up, but there's a couple more creases to do, which I think do add a bit of shape to the thing, because all we need to do really now is just this bit here, which just adds a bit more interesting shape to the outside of the thing. So let's do that. So let's turn the thing around, and you can see that we have got this line here and this line here, and we've got this hidden line that you can see underneath there. So what we want to do is to create mounting folds between this point here and this point here and this point here and this point here. So mounting fold there, mounting fold there. So let's just put those in. See what I'm doing. Just pinch that in. Just pinch that mounting fold in. Like that. Nice and firmly. Once you've got it, the alignment right, you can just pinch that in. Same on this side, so it's from here to that point there. And just pinch that in. There we go, like that. Right, now we need this bit to be a mounting fold as well. So in order to create this bit as a mounting fold as well, a valley fold will automatically create there. So this bit here needs to come up, and it will create a valley fold in there and a valley fold in there. So if we take this central one, turn that into a mounting fold, like that. Okay, so then we just need to join that mounting fold, that mounting fold, and that mounting fold up. So do it on one side, it's this mounting fold and this mounting fold. Squash them together like that. So the crease should still start at the same point. And go squash those together. Same on this side, so it's this mounting fold and this mounting fold, just squash them together. like that. Push them together. That will open, they'll open up again, but it just creates that bit of shapeliness in the spaceship's body. Make sure that you don't want that to be too flat at the back or underneath. Right, then the only other thing to do is to tuck these bits and inside these bits. So if you tuck this bit and this bit, tuck one inside the other. Tuck that in there. Like that. Squash those together. Now you might find what you need to do, it's up to you, you might find you need to do, is to just pinch that one side and just squeeze the paper in a touch, just to kind of hold the joint in place. Because otherwise you might find that when you're doing the other one, the first one pops out. So keep it nice and rounded. Pop one inside the other, like that. And if you need to, just pinch the paper together and put a notch in, just to kind of persuade the paper to stay together. Depends on how well how much spring you've got on your paper as to whether you need to do that or not. And then the last thing to do is just encourage the three-dimensionalness of the body and make sure that your underneath part tucks up inside the front portion of the ship. So you might just kind of reinforce that crease again. And there you go. There is your Romulan Warbird. So there you have it, an Origami Romulan Warbird. I hope you enjoyed folding that. You were able to follow along and complete your own. If you did get stuck, don't worry. Just put a note in the comments below and I'll do what I can to help you. If you've enjoyed this video, please give the video a like. It really does help and the algorithm needs some love too. You can also subscribe to the channel and ring that little bell so you find out about the next video when it comes out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.